The message hit every channel across known space at once. Captain Dravis of the Imperial Patrol had seized a human child.
Board them. If there is anything worth bargaining for, I want it found.
Armored soldiers stormed the freighter's corridors, finding only silence and the scent of ozone. In a tiny cabin, a 7-year-old girl slept, clutching a worn teddy bear, oblivious to the slaughter outside.
A human child. Bring her to me alive. She might be worth more than this rust bucket.
Yanked from her bed, the small human did not cry. She only stared at the scaled faces with unnerving calm.
Perfect. Broadcast this, unencrypted. We have a human child. Earth will negotiate, or she dies.
His communications officer hesitated only a moment before transmitting the words that would doom 3 Imperial sectors. The transmission roared across subspace, an ultimatum no human had ever heard. The message echoed across known space, and Earth responded with nothing but silence. After 12 hours of silence, Earth's reply arrived. A single line of text.
Return her. They think I am a fool. They have no idea who they are dealing with. Prepare a counter-broadcast. Earth will tribute 10,000 tons of refined metal for this child's safety, and they will thank me for the privilege.
Dravius watched his demand ripple across subspace. Certain humanity would crumble. The insult of asking for their own child would break their pride.
They will cave. They have no stomach for a real fight. Send the tribute list and mark it non-negotiable. Open the aged spirits. We celebrate the first human tribute.
In her cell, Sophia sat quietly, holding the worn bear. She whispered a single word.
Grandma.
But Earth did not answer. The silence stretched beyond the first hour, then the second. No plea, no counteroffer.
This is a negotiation tactic. They will break. They always break.
But the only reply was the soft hum of the ship, the cold blackness of the void, and the quiet certainty that something was terribly wrong. Hours later, Dravis contacted Imperial Command, expecting commendation for his bold move.
Your silence is an insult to the Empire. You will beg before this is over. Mark my words.
The governor's reply was curt and cold. The council is monitoring the situation. No praise, no guidance, only a silent warning.
They are envious. They cannot bear that a patrol captain outshines them in celebrity and tribute. Humans, your child awaits your tribute. Do you value her so little that you would abandon her to me?
The transmission faded into static. On the bridge, even the sub-officers began to fidget, their scales rustling with unease.
My grandma will come.
She whispered it with a smile that unnerved her jailers, as if she knew a secret they could not fathom. Dravis ordered another round of spirits. His hand trembled slightly as he poured, a crack in his iron confidence for all to see. 12 hours without a word from Earth. The patrol ship had become a cage of their own making, and every officer felt the walls closing in. The sensor officer's scales paled. An FTL emergence, massive and decelerating, pierced their net, not a freighter, but a warship.
Report. I want a full tactical scan. Is it the tribute convoy? It's too big. Give me a visual, now.
The view screen resolved a bone-white shape of armored slabs, larger than any Imperial dreadnought. A single red handprint, stark as a wound, stretched across its blunt prow, a human insignia they had never seen.
Not one of ours. Not any design from the outer colonies. They never had ships like this.
The communications console erupted with an unsolicited data stream. Not a hail. It was transmitting directly, overriding all frequencies.
Cut it. Jam that signal. Why isn't anyone moving?
Every attempt failed. The transmission surged past their firewalls as if they weren't there. Their own systems answered it. Bridge lights flickered. On every screen, the same data scroll. Names, coordinates, telemetry. They could not stop it. The crew stood paralyzed. The Imperial Patrol was now nothing but a passenger. The broadcast had begun, and then a voice cut through, calm as still water. Captain Vance of the Terran support vessel, Mother's Patience.
Dominion's Reach. Executive Officer Vexus. Family Residence Sectors 7. Habitat Gamma 12. Lieutenant Prell, spouse and hatchlings at Anchorage Blue -4.
Dravius hammered his console, ordering a full-spectrum jamming. The signal simply laughed through their encryption.
Supply Depot Sigma -3. Coordinates follow. Fleet Anchorage Nexus Prime. Full garrison roster and deployment schedules.
Physically rip out the relays. They are reading our own intelligence back to us.
On screens across the sector, families watched their own addresses scroll past, horror dawning on scaled faces.
Governor Telrek. Private retreat on Kylos Moon. Unlisted. Admiral Joreth. Command codes for the 4th Fleet. All verified.
They had this before we ever took the child. They were waiting.
The broadcast expanded, touching not just this ship, but every Imperial node within 3 sectors. It was a data hemorrhage, and they were bleeding out. Drivus stood frozen, his 4 hands limp at his sides. The patrol had never been the hunter. It had only stumbled into the jaws of an older, colder predator. The data stream halted mid-scroll. On every screen, a single red clock bloomed. 4 hours, 0 minutes, 0 seconds.
You have 4 hours to return. Sophia Ellis, unharmed, to the coordinates now transmitted. Compliance may mitigate consequences.
The dreadnought's jamming field clamped down, severing all outgoing channels. They could only listen.
They are not going to talk. This is a judgment, not a negotiation.
The crew looked at him, scales rustling with whispered fear. For the first time in his career, Dravius could not meet their eyes.
Reroute through the emergency beacons. There has to be a way out of this cage.
The communications officer bowed his head. All emergency beacons were silent. The humans had not just found them, they had built a tomb. On the main screen, the timer ticked down. 3 hours, 59 minutes.
I could return her, but if I do, they will know we are weak. The Empire will never forgive.
The clock did not wait for his pride. It simply bled seconds into the silence. Then the stars fractured. FTL wakes bloomed like cyan fire. A full human battle group, smaller ships falling into formation behind the dreadnought. They spread into a blockade, targeting vectors aligning on every major world in 3 sectors. No hails, no warnings, just cold, silent configuration. On the Mother's Patience, the main cannon yawned open. Cyan energy coiled at the mouth, charging with a subsonic hum that vibrated through the vacuum. A priority channel cut through, Governor Telrek's voice shrill with fury. Dravius, you idiot. The Council is blaming me. Do something before we all burn.
He blames me. Of course. I brought them glory. And now I am the scapegoat.
The clock continued its silent judgment. 3 hours, 41 minutes.
I am doing everything I can. If you had given me a fleet...
The governor's channel snapped shut, leaving only the hum of the charged cannon and the mocking red countdown.
I cannot return her. If I do, I am dead. If I do not, I am dead. Earth has already decided.
Outside, the human ships hung like metal planets. The cannon's glow painted the bridge in cyan shadows, and the clock bled on.
Bring the human child to the bridge. I will show Earth what defiance costs. Broadcasted live.
Guards dragged Sophia from her cell, the teddy bear dangling from one hand. Her eyes held no fear, only a calm that unnerved every soldier in the corridor.
You shouldn't do that. My grandma says you never negotiate with kidnappers.
She spoke as if reciting an unshakable law. The guard's grip tightened, but the words had already spread, freezing the bridge in a hush.
A child's taunt. Or did Earth truly raise them without fear of death? Stop. Do not open the channel. This changes nothing. She's just a child.
But his own officers could see it. The human warship's cannon hadn't flinched. The clock hadn't paused. The bluff was already dead.
They will fire. Whether she is alive, dead, or returned. This was never about her.
Sophia simply watched him, hugging her bear. The countdown on every screen ticked under 2 hours. The patrol had only one card left, and the human child had just told them it was never in their hand.
Put her in the pod and launch it. Now, if they want her so badly, they can have her.
The escape pod spat from the cruiser's flank, a tiny speck against the bone-white dreadnought. A cyan tractor beam reached out from the mother's patience and drew the pod into its hangar bay.
Sophia Ellis is safe. This is logged at current time.
The countdown clock on every screen did not pause. 2 hours. 9 minutes.
Why? I returned her. That was the condition. Stop the clock. Stop it now. They never intended to stop. This was always a sentence, not a bargain.
Inside the pod, Sophia clutched her bear, a single tear tracing down her cheek, but her eyes were dry. The countdown bled under 1 hour. Dravis stared at the clock, the cannon's glow searing his retinas.
It was never about the child. It is about making sure no one ever tries again.
The clock slammed to 0. A single chime vibrated through the hull, and then a silence deeper than the void.
You were warned. Compliance may mitigate consequences. It does not excuse them.
The main cannon of the mother's patience released a column of cyan light, so bright it bleached the stars. It crossed the void in a heartbeat and struck the capital world. The planetary crust split like glass, magma vomiting upward through continent-sized fissures, swallowing cities in blinding seconds. The upper atmosphere ignited, boiling into smoke-stained orange clouds that wrapped the entire planet in a churning, incandescent shroud. The red handprint on the dreadnought's prow glowed as if licked by fire. Across all 3 sectors, every human ship fired in perfect, terrible unison.
They are erasing us. Not just the fleet. Everything. Those worlds will be glass within the hour.
Imperial comm channels erupted with screams before being snuffed out, one by one, as relay stations were methodically atomized. The dreadnought hung motionless in the smoke-stained sky, the handprint now a brand seared into the retina of every Imperial survivor. Dravis watched, his command chair now a throne of ash, and knew with absolute certainty that nothing would ever be the same. Supply depots across 3 sectors ignited in chain reactions, each explosion a silent nova against the burning planet skies. The atmosphere of every colony world had become a furnace, smoke and ash blotting out the suns in a churning orange shroud. On the main viewer, a tactical overlay shifted. New coordinates tagged with the handprint resolved into a live feed of a residential district.
Number, that is Habitat Gamma 12. That is my family's block. That is my family's block. They are targeting my home.
The feed showed the bronze spires of his home, the gardens where his hatchlings played. Then a cyan beam wiped it into white silence.
I killed them. My arrogance killed them all.
Behind him, officers wept openly, their scales bleeding moisture. The patrol ship's bridge had become a mausoleum of grief. Dravis sank into his command chair, 4 hands covering his face. The deck shook from the distant shockwaves of dying worlds.
I am the architect of an atrocity. The Empire will not forgive this. Neither will I.
The bombardment continued, relentless and surgical, erasing 3 sectors from the map. With every passing moment, a second lance from the mother's patience carved through the governor's palace, vaporizing the ornate bronze spires in a silent bloom of plasma. The governor's district vanished in a sphere of white fire, its shockwave shattering windows for 100 miles.
The fleet is gone. They are not even fighting back. Just dying.
Earth's targeting was surgical. No civilian districts, but every barracks, command bunker, government building systematically erased.
They are not slaughtering civilians. They are destroying the Imperial machine and leaving the people to watch.
The governor's last transmission was a screaming demand for reinforcements that no longer existed, cut short by collapsing infrastructure. When the firing stopped, silence reclaimed the void. The fleet waited, guns still glowing, their lesson delivered.
They've stopped. Why have they stopped?
The answer came not in words, but in the absence of fire. Earth was waiting for something more.
This is not over. They are not finished. The worst is yet to come.
The barrage ceased as suddenly as it had begun. The dreadnought's cannon cooled, steam venting into the void. In the silence, the red handprint on its prow glowed, fed by the light of a billion burning embers below. On every Imperial screen, the countdown clock had vanished, replaced by a single word: complete.
They are not firing anymore. We are still here.
Drovus looked around the bridge, at his weeping officers, at the shattered consoles. The ship was whole only because Earth willed it so.
They let us live.
His own voice sounded hollow. The answer was clear. Someone had to carry the story.
I am not a survivor. I am a monument to their lesson.
Outside, the mother's patience hung motionless, the handprint now a brand seared into every Imperial retina across 3 dead sectors. And then a new transmission crackled across the silent channels. Not a voice yet, just a breath before pronouncement.
Admiral Margaret Ellis of the Terran Fleet Command now addresses all Imperial forces.
A holographic image materialized on every screen in the sector. An elderly woman, silver hair pulled tight, pale blue eyes sharp as ice.
The handprint insignia on her uniform is the same as that ship. She is not just a commander, she is an architect.
The Admiral's gaze swept across the bridge, and for a moment, Drovus felt as if she were looking directly at him through light years of void.
Captains and crews of the Imperial Patrol, listen carefully.
The bridge fell utterly silent. Even the weeping had stopped. Every scale on every officer seemed to contract.
Here it comes. The final judgment.
You seized a child. You made demands.
She paused, the weight of the silence pressing like a physical force. Her next words poised to reshape the galaxy. Drovus did not dare breathe. Every soul in the patrol knew, whatever came next, there was no going back.
You believed you could take one of ours and bargain. You were wrong.
She gestured, and an image bloomed beside her. A younger version of herself, holding a laughing infant with blonde curls.
Number the child. It cannot be.
The child you seized is my granddaughter, Sophia.
A collective intake of breath swept the bridge. Even the weeping stopped. They had not just provoked Earth, they had struck at its heart.
But that does not matter. If it had been any child of Earth, the response would have been exactly the same.
Her voice hardened, the weight of an unspoken doctrine pressing through the speakers.
They would have burned us for a stranger. For her. They will erase our memory.
You will tell this story. You will ensure no one ever makes your mistake again.
The Admiral's image lingered, the handprint insignia burning into every mind. Her silence was a demand. The galaxy must learn.
You do not take ours.
The words echoed for a single heartbeat, and then the transmission died, leaving only the cold hum of the cruiser's life support. Drovus staggered backward and collapsed into his command chair, as if his spine had been pulled from his body.
3 words. And the Empire is broken. 3 words, and I am already dead.
One of his sub-officers broke the silence, his voice shaking with scorn.
You brought this on us. Every death in 3 sectors is on your scales, Captain.
Outside, the mother's patience rolled ponderously, its bone-white hull sliding toward the darkness as the fleet fell into escort formation. The surviving Imperials watched the handprint recede, no longer just a symbol, but a promise fulfilled.
You do not take ours. It was never a warning. It was a law.
And as the human ships vanished into the void, those 3 words remained, seared into the fabric of this shattered corner of space. A priority channel tore through the silence, the crimson Imperial seal materializing on every display. Captain Drovus, by order of the Emperor, you will present yourself at the capital for immediate judgment. The transmission ended with the image of the Emperor's clawed fist smashing his own console in pure fury.
I will be the example. Every death in 3 sectors will rest on my shoulders.
The courier arrives in 3 hours. Resistance means termination. The Emperor does not ask. Already, the official channels declared him a rogue element, acting without sanction. The Empire disavowed him entirely. Dravus could see the mock trial, the public disgrace, the chains, the exile. He turned from the screen, the weight of an empire's scorn pressing on his scales. The 3 sectors were gone from every map. His career, his name, erased. He was a dead man walking. Only the slowness of his end remained uncertain. Across the galaxy, the image flashed onto every screen, the bone-white dreadnought floating above a planet cracked with magma. The red handprint seemed to burn through the hull, a brand no shielding could hide. A tiny escape pod drifted in the foreground, dwarfed by the Cathedral of War behind it. Cyan engine wash ignited the upper atmosphere, painting the smoke-stained sky in hues of electric death. News anchors fell silent, as the image spoke for itself. 3 sectors erased, 1 child returned, 1 law declared. The handprint became a symbol overnight, sprayed on walls, whispered in fear, a mark meaning, "Do not touch." Fleet analysts studied the footage in loops, measuring the impossible, marveling at the surgical fury. In hidden bunkers, imperial governors ordered the handprint stricken from all records, knowing it would never fade. The mother's patience sailed on, its name now etched into the galaxy's memory as the ship that did not ask, only answered, and the final message lingered in the void. 3 words that had unmade 3 sectors, and would guard every human child forever. In the Terran Command Center, Admiral Ellis watched the broadcast end. Then she turned away without a word. She walked through empty corridors to a private hangar, her boots echoing on the steel. The escape pod sat open. On the deck nearby, a singed teddy bear lay where it had been dropped. Then a small figure burst from behind a maintenance droid. Sophia ran, her pigtails bouncing wildly. She didn't slow. She slammed into her grandmother, arms wrapping tight around the Admiral's waist. Ellis knelt, gathering the child into her arms, her scarred cheek pressed against the girl's soft hair. No words, just the muffled sound of a child's sob and the Admiral's long, slow breath. After a moment, Ellis pulled back and took a small red handprint pin from her pocket. She pinned it carefully onto Sophia's collar, her wrinkled fingers surprisingly gentle. Later, they stood together on a grassy hill under the stars, hand in hand, the city lights glittering below. The doctrine that erased 3 sectors had been written decades earlier by a young Terran strategist named Margaret Ellis. 1 line, composed in the aftermath of humanity's first interstellar loss: "You do not take ours." When her granddaughter was taken, the doctrine activated, not as a policy, but as a promise. The galaxy watched. Earth did not negotiate, did not waver, did not bluff. Admiral Ellis stood as the unflinching face of that law, her own blood the proof it was absolute. The handprint became a symbol, painted on hulls and whispered in council chambers. The 3 sectors were struck from every map, a void where imperial power had once stood. Captain Dravus, architect of the provocation, awaited judgment in chains, his name a curse. The galaxy now understood. To take a human was to invite annihilation, and the rule, simple and terrible, would guard every human soul for generations to come. In the capital, chained and shorn of rank, Dravus knelt before the dais of the Emperor. The shadows moved behind the throne. A voice like grinding stone read the verdict: exile. His epaulets were torn away, his command codes purged in front of the assembled court. Then he was dragged to a waiting transport, the city spires already erasing his name from their databanks. The ship descended through a smoke-choked atmosphere, landing on a world already dead. They pushed him out onto the cracked, glassed soil and lifted off without a word.
They told me to carry the story, but no one is listening. I did this. I did this.
The wind carried his words across a plain of fused glass and gave nothing back. He was alone, in the ruins he had made, a monument to the law he had broken. The mother's patience sailed into the endless black, its bone-white hull carrying a promise carved in cyan fire. On a grassy hill overlooking a quiet city, Admiral Margaret Ellis and her granddaughter stood hand in hand, watching the stars emerge. Sophia's small hand was warm in her grandmother's. Neither needed to speak. A tiny red handprint pin glimmered on the child's collar, a perfect mirror of the symbol that had unmade empires. Across the galaxy, that handprint was being painted on walls, whispered in fear as a rule of iron. 3 words had reshaped the balance of power in a single, brutal, and unforgettable lesson. You do not take ours. The galaxy learned, and somewhere in the deep dark, the mother's patience sailed on, its mission eternal and its lesson carved into the stars. Sophia smiled up at her grandmother, and the universe for a moment was still and kind.